Welcome to the Korea Pro podcast. I'm your host, Jeongmin Kim, the editorial director of Korea Pro.
And I'm John Lee, the editor of Korea Pro.
Join us for a weekly 15-minute conversation as we dive into the most pressing stories shaping South Korea and dissect the most complicated ones for you.
From politics to culture, technology to society, we've got you covered. So stay ahead of the curve and never be sidelined again.
So get ready for a fresh perspective on South Korea's news. This is the Korea Pro podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Korea Pro podcast. It is now Thursday, April 17. It's a little bit before 2 p.m. And as always, something's going on in Korea, and we are all here to talk about this and to break it all down.
Okay, let's start with the tariffs. And this week, I believe much of the briefings all mentioned tariffs for one way or another. Let's start with what you wrote on Monday. You said that South Korea is engaging with Australia and Vietnam with the U.S. tariffs rolling in.
Yeah, it is, but it is just a really reactive sort of step that South Korea is really doing. There is no real strategic move right now. What South Korea is basically doing is what it knows how to do best, which is reaching out to whatever trade partners that it can reach out to at this point. Australia and Vietnam are also countries that have been affected by U.S. tariffs. And so South Korea has gone to China. The South Korean foreign minister has gone to Vietnam to meet with his Vietnamese counterpart. And the South Korean finance minister did not travel to Australia, but he had a virtual meeting.
The formerly acting president.
The former acting president / deputy prime minister, who was still deputy prime minister,
and
but also not a finance minister.
And whose personal color is blue or something?
His personal color is blue. Is that a whole fashion thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So the finance minister had a virtual call with his Australian counterparts, and they talked about the usual topics. They talked about the need for cooperation regarding lithium, rare earths, energy, the sorts of topics that South Korea is always interested in. But again, this is all just reactive because right now what's coming out of Washington is just utter chaos. One day there are tariffs, the next day there are exemptions, the next day those exemptions are walked back, and after that Trump announces that he is talking with at least 5 different countries, South Korea and Japan being 2 of them. I think India is another one, where they're all talking about exempting certain industries. The Canadians and the Mexicans, they are facing some exemptions as well. There is just no coherent message coming out of Washington. So as far as the South Korean government is concerned, it's not quite sure how to approach this. Now, the finance minister said that when he meets with his U.S. counterparts, yes, they're going to talk about tariff reductions and trade, but he also insisted that they're not going to talk about defense cost sharing, for example. And so we're not exactly sure what the governments are going to do, but we already do know what the corporations are doing. And what they're doing is absolutely nothing. They're keeping their money to themselves right now, and they're going to wait for this whole thing to blow over.
Is that what you meant by stockpiling in one of your stories?
The stockpiling was in regards to South Korea's ICT exports in March. Those ICT exports really jumped. But that's because everyone knew these reciprocal tariffs, which are neither reciprocal nor tariffs, were coming. And so they decided to buy in advance. And that's why South Korea's ICT exports really jumped in March. And that's not sustainable.
So those numbers are not because it's an actual rebound.
Not at all. Not by a long shot.
I see. Would we need a story or a tracker of some sort for our readers to track all these changes with tariffs or whatnot related to South Korea? And I'm looking at John. Would you be happy to handle it?
Like this is a trap.
Yes, this is. If you say yes here, it's on the record. So.
And if I say no?
I will turn off the recording and talk to you. Moving on to the next topic, sensitive countries list. It came into effect April 15 local time, so that was Wednesday early morning, our time. So when we reached out to MOFA, it did sound like they understand that South Korea is still on the list, but they did not hear anything further from the Department of Energy, whether or not there are any updates. So from South Korea's perspective, right now there's an acting president, and we're looking at election cycle. What can the government actually do?
Nothing. This list is classified. The DOE does not officially share this list. Now, if you look at all of these different newspaper articles, they're going to mention China, Russia, North Korea, Belarus. But
there are certain friendly countries to the U.S. on
Taiwan,
that list as well.
Sure. But whether or not this is 100% true, the only people who actually know that for a fact are the people who work at the DOE, because this list is not released to the public, to anyone.
Right.
Now, because South Korea said that the U.S. did not notify them about whether or not they were on the list, South Korea is assuming that it's on the list. Now, this current government, this interim government that we have, might try to send people to talk about trade, about defense, or whatever they want to talk about. But to be fair, the US doesn't really have to take this government all that seriously. It'll be gone in 50 days, in less than 50 days. They are really going to look forward to having to talk to the incoming government. And so, as of right now, I don't really see Seoul being able to do much of anything.
Speaking of incoming government, let's talk about the primaries. The PPP and DP, the ruling party and the opposition party, they sort of started the whole process of figuring out who the candidates are. Can you walk us through who the candidates are?
So for the PPP, the People Power Party, the candidates are as follows. Kim Moon-soo, the former labor minister under Yoon.
Who took a photo in front of Park Chung-hee's statue looking
trying
exactly
to
imitate him.
And he's currently leading in the conservative bloc polls. Na Kyung-won, who was very pro-Yoon during his whole impeachment trial. An Chol-soo, Yang Hyang-ja, who is from Lee Jun-suk's former party, and Yoo Jung-bok, the current mayor of Incheon, Lee Cheol-woo, the current governor of Gyeongbuk Province, North Gyeongsang, and Han Dong-hoon and Hong Jun-pyo.
Han Dong-hoon and Hong Jun-pyo being the former People Power Party leader, and Hong Jun-pyo, the Daegu mayor.
Yeah.
Many of them are like nuclear proponents and whatnot, and many of them actually are starting to talk about defense-related issues,
They are.
as well as Lee Jae-myung. Let's get back to that after walking us through the DP candidates now.
The DP candidates are they're much shorter in terms of length. So it's just three. It's Lee Jae-myung, of course, the former DP leader, Kim Kyung-soo, the former governor of South Gyeongsang Province, and
Who got into prison and then came back.
who got into prison, or he was sentenced to prison for election law violation, and also Kim Dong-yeon, the current mayor of Gyeonggi. Governor of Gyeonggi.
So those are three on the DP side, but with one very clear front runner. And it sounds like in the People Power Party, it's 11 or something, but now it's down to 8.
Yeah, so originally it was three other folks who threw in their hats for the PPP candidacy for the top office. However, the three others were not passed through by the PPP leadership and instead went through with the 8 candidates that I've just mentioned.
Right, and going forward, the PPP, because there are so many people in the PPP who wants to run for a presidential race, the schedule going forward will be over the weekend. These 8 people will be holding group-by-group debates about certain topics.
Indeed, yeah.
Right? And then there will be 100%, is it? 100% public opinion polls to figure out the final 4 people who will become the people who go into the second round of primaries. And the second round will be 50-50, right? Public opinion polls 50%, and then the
PPP,
party member vote. And 선거인단, the
just election committee.
election committee and the party member votes 50%. And then they will narrow it down to 2. And then between these two, if there is someone who got majority vote over 50%, that person will win immediately. But if not, it will be, we will figure out on May 3rd when there is a party convention.
And for the DP, it's a little different. So it's just 50-50. So party, election committee, and the party members alongside the members of the public, which will be 50-50.
John is not really listening to us right now because I know his argument. We know who's going to win the presidential race anyways, is what's in your mind right now, right?
Presidency? What presidency? We just need to put a crown on his head.
Looking to stay informed about South Korea's fast-evolving political, business and cultural landscape? Join us on Korea Pro, the go-to resource for in-depth analysis expertly curated by top-tier professionals. And now you can pick the membership level that best suits your needs, thanks to our new subscription packages. Starting at just $199 annually, you can access daily analysis and our weekly podcast. Or try our premium membership package, which offers additional perks such as executive briefings, monthly reports and forecasts, networking receptions and event opportunities, as well as much, much more. To find the best fit for you, just head to signup.koreapro.org and become a member today.
And week ahead, because we are fully in the election cycle now, we will start hearing about exact policy pledges and whatnot. It looks like the strategy from Lee Jae-myung's side is not to announce
Say anything.
everything not announce everything at the same time. That might be actually a better strategy. But his strategy right now is to bit by bit sort of announcement according to importance of the sector from his perspective. So he started with an AI, I believe.
Yeah, he did start with AI. Now he's moved on to K-defense or
K-defense.
just defense industry.
Let me guess, he said defense industry good.
Yes, he did. Exactly that. And
Genius.
he's gone for a policy think tank, so his own policy think tank, or what's established to be his own policy think tank for the presidential campaign. It just launched yesterday on April 19th. It's called Growth and Integration, which was translated from 성장과 통합. And they've put forward a 3-4-5 growth strategy, so achieving a 3% potential growth rate for the country by 2030. Becoming one of the world's top 4 exporting nations and reaching $50,000 in per capita income.
And did he mention anything related to redistributive policy when it comes to growth?
The redistribution policy, they look like, or at least what the exclusives are saying from Rock Media that's been talking to DP insiders, is that the redistribution policy is something that they're trying to track back on at the moment. Whether or not that actually is announced by the DP leadership and during the presidential primaries and during Lee Jae-myung's campaign, that's still something to...
I see.
With progressives like this, who needs conservatives?
Right? That many of them are also calling themselves centrist conservatives. And also it does sound like Lee is trying to play a very safe game, risk-free sort of game to get the moderate voters. And I wrote something about this and it will be published today, Thursday.
And all of this information will be sent to your email inboxes by the Week Ahead newsletter on Monday at 2 p.m. So if you'd like to know more, please subscribe. Please try to have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in.
If you want to know more, sign up for our daily executive briefings. We brief you on all you need to know from the past 24 hours and why they matter every morning in your inboxes.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for your weekly dose of insight. And until next time, I'm Jeongmin Kim.
And I'm John Lee. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on the Great Pro Podcast.